Sobriety is easy when you have a positive perspective and embrace life. Welcome to the 4th episode. I am your host, Julie Steiner. There are simple tools that we have been using over the past 40 years backed by research that can lessen the overwhelm and confusion that accompany sobriety. Today's keys are steeping yourself in life and crushing false evidence appearing real, using locus of control and hugs. Let's start with crushing false evidence appearing real. We are complex creatures, which require us to be fully present to appreciate and understand life. False evidence appearing real is a helpful perspective when considering our hesitancy and fears as we embark on life without the crutch of alcohol and drugs. This acronym suggests that we are not accessing the truth when we're filled with apprehension about something. We want to get rid of fear. One excellent way of addressing fear is to realize you have a choice, placing your faith in the negative, which is fear, or the positive, which is faith. Either way, you are expressing faith in something. Do you want to put energy into what might go wrong, or put energy into what might go right? When I was about to go for my first brain surgery as a single mom with 3 years of sobriety, I was surrounded by supportive people from my faith and my 12-step program. They prayed for me and reinforced my belief that it would go well. I rehearsed their positive words to fill my mind with success. After all, I had no evidence the surgeon was going to make a mistake, nor any evidence that my body would react poorly, nor any evidence that I would be worse off after the surgery. The success rate for the surgery was less than 20%. But without it, I couldn't add, so I couldn't bounce. I kept bouncing my checkbook. I couldn't balance it. Nor could I do my job that entailed sophisticated statistics. I had aphasia. I had outbursts of anger. I ate everything in sight. I couldn't find my way around town. And of course, I had excruciating headaches. The negative of my life made a 20% success rate like a guarantee. Besides, I had a marvelous relationship with God, my higher power. It made sense to believe that He would take care of me and my sons, regardless of the outcome. I had to do what I could. The only step in front of me was the surgery, so I took it. The surgery was a great success. The veil that had covered my world was lifted, and I could see clearly and enjoy life because all the negative symptoms had disappeared. Sadly, this only lasted for a couple weeks. Then the symptoms returned and the veil slowly lowered over my eyes. It was so bizarre. Because I'd seen the benefits of the surgery, I agreed to a second one, then a third, then a fourth, then a fifth. That's 5 brain surgeries in 6 months. Loyalty can come from fear of change or from strength of character. I was stubbornly loyal to my surgeon, which resulted in a successful outcome after he changed one part of the surgery on the 5th try. A second opinion after the last surgery was that I had chosen the right surgeon because the second opinion group would never have performed that surgery. An essential concept that's demonstrated by those brain surgeries is locus of control, which dates back to 1954, put forth by Julian Rotter. It states that we frame life by whether we believe we have control, an internal locus of control, or things are caused by outside forces, external locus of control. These podcasts have been promoting the idea that we all have choices, which is an internal locus of control. You can change your locus of control. To elaborate, an internal locus of control is evidenced by you believing you are in control and have power over your mind, body, spirit, basically yourself. External locus of control believes in fate, luck, and chance. A victim often has a locus of control that's external. Someone who has experienced abuse, domestic violence, crime, or threats, or other assaults often comes to believe they are at the mercy of the universe. Someone got a good job because they were lucky. Another person has good health because of their heredity. The problem this presents is that the person doesn't feel the need to take responsibility for their life. If something is meant to happen, it will. They complain frequently and often whine when they speak because they are powerless and can give you evidence that proves they've had no opportunities to make choices. Oh, it's so hard to deal with. If something is supposed to happen, it will happen, according to the external locus of control. The other side of this is that external locus of control is a protective defense mechanism to prevent a person from feeling the weight of guilt for actually having been a victim. When we lose our phone, which most of us have done, we consider the steps that led to the loss and consider multiple scenarios of how it could have been prevented. Just consider how much larger that process is for someone who's been raped, attacked, in a severe car accident, so many problems and disasters. If they had stayed home instead of attending that event, if they'd walked down a different street, if they'd carried pepper spray, if they had worn a different outfit, on it goes. The guilt is overwhelming. Internal locus of control doesn't mean that we are in charge of everything that happens in our life. We are not God. It means that we make choices. When something bad happens, we examine our role in it so that we can prevent it from happening again. Then we determine what we can do to rectify or heal from the situation. We take time to grieve, if called for, and move on. A person with an internal locus of control believes that they make their own fortune. If you plan and prepare, good things will happen. Sometimes they can judge others as creating their own negative circumstances when that person actually was a true victim. It is crucial that we refrain from judging others. But for the grace of God, there go I. This is an important slogan in the 12-step program. Because if we had kept drinking instead of getting sober when we did, we may have landed in jail or lost our job or whatever else didn't happen yet that sadly we saw others endure. Most of us lost friends and relatives to alcohol. 5 of my friends died from drunk driving accidents within 4 years when I was 16 to 20 years old. Later in life, alcohol and drug deaths of relatives and friends were due to long-term effects of the alcohol in the body. For those of you who enjoy the Bible, this is in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. I am no better than anyone else. No one is any better than me. I may be a better baker. They may be a better mechanic. But we are equal as human beings. I don't judge others because of something they've done or do, and I don't expect others to judge me. Students ask me why I consider myself as having an internal locus of control since I had followed the 3rd step of the 12 steps by giving my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. My explanation continues to be that I choose every day to follow my higher power. That choice is under my control. With each decision that I explore, if I believe it is within God's will for me, I am practicing control. Also, the step says that I give my will and my life over to the care of God. That means I believe I'm being watched over and loved. My framework for making decisions is within how I believe my higher power wants me to live. A habit that I developed in early sobriety was to hug everyone I could. I must have been starving for touch because I hugged everyone. Even the bank teller couldn't escape my hug. Of course, I always asked if the person would like or mind or wanted a hug. I didn't cross others' boundaries because people with ADD, ADHD, PTSD, or so many reasons for sensitivity to touch could be harmed rather than helped by my hug. Always watch our boundaries. The pink cloud and freedom of recovery created a strong trust of others in me. So I believe that each person presented as being true. I wanted to share my joy. Each hug that I shared was joyful and seemed to erase, actually, a slap in my face or twisting of my arm or being called names. So I craved hugs. After all, I was in a race to heal, to be a great mom, and to make up for lost years of emptiness, not fitting in. So the extra credits for students and the assignment for you, if you choose to accept it, is to give or get 5 hugs daily for 5 days, with no repeats and no children and no pets. Yeah, that means you can only count hugging your significant other once, and hugging your children doesn't count. The purpose is to help you reach beyond your comfort zone. It is crucial to learn to trust. If you can trust a neighbor enough to hug them, or trust a friend, or perhaps you finally volunteer or belong to a group where there's someone you'll be willing to hug, then you can swap a bubble boundary for part of your steel walls that you have created. Or you can heal wounds. After completing the exercise, which you can stretch out over several weeks, you want to write a couple of sentences about how the hugs have impacted you. Again, that's a total of 25 hugs spread over 5 days. The days don't have to be contiguous. I want you to understand that 5 hugs in one day is far more intense than 1 or 2 hugs in terms of the emotions and hormones they evoke. Clearly, if you have touch sensitivity or anxiety or something else that makes hugging seem like a huge ask, then shake someone's hand or perform a fist bump. Work up to the hugs. You can choose. Make the choice that's right for you at this point in time. According to Townsend and Cloud, men need 8 hugs a day and women need 12. The reference is in the comments. Hugs improve immunity, reduce inflammation, reduce stress, reduce fear, reduce heart rate and blood pressure, and release oxytocin, a cuddle hormone. They're great. And I have sources there. Science confirms hugs can ease pain, anxiety, and depression. And significant physical benefits of hugging from Psychology Today. And why hugging is actually good for your health from Cleveland Clinic. Again, references are in the comments. Virginia Satir proposes that we need 4 hugs for survival, 8 to maintain the status quo, and 12 to grow. We are in a post-COVID time, so you may not be ready to hug people. And you can modify this exercise by shaking hands, putting your hand on someone's shoulder, patting someone on the back. You get the idea. When my boys reached the age that mom hugs weren't always welcome, we played different types of wrestling and arm wrestling games so we could continue to touch without crossing their boundaries. No hug now, Mom. Locus of control and hugs are the first 2 keys to crushing fear, false evidence appearing real, and steeping yourself in life. The next key is routine, which I briefly introduced in a previous podcast. In recovery, we're fighting conditioning, classical conditioning, from our drinking routine. Our brain is attempting to follow our old patterns of escaping our feelings over lunch or dinner or in the evening. We need to learn how long it actually takes to make dinner, rather than how long it takes when you start fixing it late because you wanted a drink before you begin. Then you actually move from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 rather than taking time to sip drinks in between the steps and forgetting to turn the oven on because the alcohol is altering your concentration, and realizing you need to run to the store for a required ingredient, then having a drink upon returning from the store because you completed that important task. When your brain isn't in a fog from alcohol, you make better decisions, improve your memory, and become more focused so you're ready to develop and follow a routine. My routine still keeps me grounded. It tells me that I know who I am, what is important to me, and that I can handle whatever happens throughout the day. I am steady. I trust myself. The elements of our routine engage the aspects of our life that matter, which for me is my spirituality, nutrition, my loved ones, physical activity, and planning. Some people add reading, yoga, stretching, nature, cold plunge, journaling, and so many other options. Start a morning and evening routine with what you believe is important. Assess after a couple weeks, then make your adjustments. You are looking for what feels right, lifts your spirits, and makes you feel like you're taking care of yourself. Robert Louis Stevens said, "To know what you prefer instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you that you ought to prefer, is to have kept your soul alive. In early sobriety, I framed my day with daily meditations from Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, prayers, and self-help book exercises, specifically See You at the Top by Ziglar and 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. These titles are in the comments below. I also listed a few things that needed to be accomplished that day. Of course, simple hygiene was necessary because I drove the boys to school each morning, so even during the time I wasn't working, I took care of my appearance to set an example for them. I continue to frame my day with daily meditations and gratitudes. They are based in my faith rather than focusing on addiction. These actions gave me hope that my situation would improve, as well as techniques to work toward goals. For the first time in decades, I was taking care of myself. My love for learning served me well, because the reading material was useful later when I taught psychology and in my therapy practice. I selfishly protected my morning and evening time, and still do. Other activities that aided in recovery were incorporated in flexible routines, such as exercise, fun, and reading. In early recovery, that may be difficult. For the first few years, I actually planned each half hour of every day to ensure I was on track. I am not kidding. I used Excel worksheets. I used worksheets from books that I was reading. Every half hour was planned. To this day, I return to that practice when life is presenting stressful events, like my husband's strokes. That type of detailed planning adds a sense of security and certainty to a tenuous situation. While I do counter push-ups and squats while waiting for my tea to brew, my daily exercise of stationary bike and weights are fit in around daily activities. As mentioned, planning was part of my morning. You can prioritize your to-do list, you can categorize it, or you can simplify it by listing only 3 things that you need to get done today. Sometimes I make this list at night for the next day. Other times, it works better to make the list in the morning. Time management will be thoroughly discussed in a future podcast. When you plan your day with healthy activities and follow through with the plan, it's easier to say no to any thoughts of using the cross up. You start to trust yourself more. You start to have confidence in your ability to fulfill your obligations and care for your loved ones. A bedtime routine that consists of 5 to 7 steps conditions us to become tired as we go through the routine, typically after a few weeks of practicing the same steps. For example, I used Sudoku puzzles as part of my nighttime routine. And while waiting in line at the bank, I'm not kidding, I pulled out my Sudoku book that I carried to avoid boredom, and within a few minutes, my eyes were closing. My body had been classically conditioned to sleep when I played Sudoku. Here are some suggestions that may help you create your bedtime routine. Number 1, have a snack. This is essential for people with hypoglycemia, or people who have to take food with a nighttime medication. Before I started this habit, my youngest son and I would arise at 5 a.m. each day for breakfast, then return to sleep. Once I started our snack in the evening, we slept through until our alarms went off. Now, bananas can be a good nighttime snack because they have melatonin and encourage sleep. Avoid bananas if you have a histamine intolerance. Number 2, brush your teeth. Number 3, put on your PJs. It's amazing how relaxing that can be. Number 4, get into bed. Number 5, state 3 to 5 things you're grateful for that day. Number 6, read the same meditation you read in the morning to frame the day. Number 7, say nighttime prayers. Number 8, read or watch TV. Number 9, use a mask if you like. You may add journaling, a bath, soothing sounds, a fan, or whatever helps you sleep. Remember, in a previous podcast, I mentioned the new studies that demonstrate that playing certain games or watching certain types of movies or shows promotes pleasant sleep. When my boys were very young, I played a tape with pleasant children's songs after our prayer and story time, because during the first 15 minutes or so, you are in stage 1 of sleep, where your mind is very aware of your surroundings to such an extent that if someone wakes you up during that time, you can tell them exactly what was going on. Use this time to create positive images and thoughts as you're falling asleep so that you have pleasant dreams. Another podcast comes to an end after discussing crushing false evidence appearing real by using locus of control to highlight our ability to choose, by hugs and other forms of touch to increase trust, and by routines that increase certainty, security, and trust in ourselves. I hope these pieces of the sobriety path will make it easier for you. For those of you who aren't alcoholics or addicts, I hope you took away a nugget. I look forward to sharing additional tools next week. Please join me on this miraculous path.